got everybody? 2.1, we're going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to begin with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We want to welcome everybody together to be here tonight, and I'm going to start off with a letter that we actually received this week recently, and I'm just going to read some of this. Recently, you may have seen or heard about a letter the National School Board Association sent to the White House requesting federal assistance to deal with cases of harassment and threats being made towards school board members in this tumultuous climate we face today. While we recognize that there are serious issues occurring around the country and in some communities in Missouri, we strongly disagree with the tone of the NSBA letter, and especially with the call for federal involvement. The Missouri School Board Association is not a subsidiary of the National School Board Association. It says we are entirely a separate entity. NSBA does not have any governance control over our organization. By that same token, MSBA was not consulted or given the opportunity to advise on the NSBA's letter to the White House. We were disappointed with the NSBA letter and have clearly expressed our disagreement to them in no uncertain terms. We absolutely and unequivocally believe in the First Amendment rights of parents and all citizens to speak freely and petition their governments. We appreciate the passions of parents and others here that they have in the Missouri schools and for the children that we serve. We encourage that passion and must credit safe and opportunities for voices to be heard. However, there have been some instances in Missouri where the safety of our teachers, administrators, and board members have been threatened, and threats of violence should never be tolerated, and we call for civility and respect alongside the passionate exchange of concern and ideas. And we just want everybody to know that we welcome your open comments, we welcome your signs. You have a right to do that, and that lets us know how you feel, your emails. And we, along with the MSBA, have no intentions or need for any federal involvement to occur. And so we just want everybody to know that we do stand for your rights, and they'll always be listened to. We're going to have... You have a right to do that. All right, we're going to start with introductions. Dr. Gilman.
Randy Gilman, Assistant Superintendent, Elementary.
Tammy Cardona, Assistant Superintendent, Secondary.
April Meckel, Board Member.
Carol Yonk, Board Treasurer.
Susan Graham, Board Secretary.
Dawn Trokey, Director of Business and Financial Services.
Kelly Brock, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources.
Vicki Hansen, Board Member.
Michelle Chamberlain, Board Member.
Crystal Hargis, Vice President.
Paul Frigo, Superintendent.
Judy Smith, Board President. 2.3, approval of agenda for the October 20, 2021 meeting. I need a motion.
Motion Hargis.
Second, Chamberlain.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. 2.4, approval of meeting minutes from October 5th. I need a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Hansen.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right. We're going into communications, and this is 3.1, and we are thrilled to have Dr. Dina McCaffrey here, President of Jefferson College, to give us an update regarding the Jefferson College partnerships with the Fox School District. Welcome, Dr. McCaffrey.
Thank you for having me here tonight. I just wanted to briefly speak to the board and to the community how grateful we are at Jefferson College for the longstanding partnerships we've had with Fox. I know some of you were probably on the board or involved many years ago as these partnerships have grown and evolved, but I'm just going to kind of review quickly some of the things we do with Fox. And I also want to start by saying it's been great. Dr. Frigo and I have met a few times, and we are working on that relationship and how we can expand it. And the very first thing he said to me is how important it is to have our students college and career ready. And as a community college, that's important to us too. We do a lot of career training as well as those first 2 years of college for individuals who choose to continue on to complete their bachelor's degree. And so some of those programs that we have worked with the Fox School District on, first of all, I'd like to mention our College Accelerated program, and that's CAP, if you are familiar with that. Crystal Hargis, I believe you are actually still working with Fox when we started that program. And that is students from Fox and Seckman. We have about 20 students each year who come onto the Jefferson College Arnold campus and actually finish their associate's degree the same time they finish their high school graduation. So they graduate usually from us a day or two before they graduate from Fox. So that's a really exciting program. So we've had over 100 students who've actually completed that program. And I know the first class alone, from the data I recall seeing, if they would have not chosen that path, or for choosing that path, they saved over $1.5 million on college tuition by choosing that path. So we know that is a very important path for those students. And not only are those students high achieving in the classroom, we have learned over time that those same students are athletes. They perform in your theater. They're your student council representatives. So they just tend to be high achievers in all parts of their life, which is excellent to continue to challenge them in the classroom also. We also have our area technical school, and that works with students of all, mostly juniors and seniors. They come on our campus, and we have about 70 to 80 students between Fox and Seckman each year who take advantage of one of our programs. We have everything from welding and automotive technology to culinary arts and health services, which is where students get their CNA. And so those students, we help them a lot of times on their career pathway for whatever they're doing. And we've had students who've taken advantage of those programs, but then gone on to get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and some of them even a doctorate in something totally different, but the skills they learned through those programs are also very helpful, whatever their career choice is. And many of those students go to work, even while they're still in our programs, they'll go to work in those fields and work part-time while they finish school, so that's excellent. And that also helps our employer partners in Jefferson County. We have dual credit opportunities for students, so they'll be taking the classes at Fox or Seckman and be getting college credit. We also do other things to help with that college and career readiness. For each year, each fall, we have a career expo where we invite high school freshmen and sophomores to our campus, and that is to explore all different career fields, not just what we offer. So we have individuals there, for example, if you're interested in healthcare. We have individuals there who might be or represent a CNA or a nurse or a physician assistant or a medical doctor. We'll have there, and so students can talk about all of those career pathways. So they may not come to Jefferson College if they want to be a medical doctor, but they can talk to a doctor to learn what it took to get to where they are. And last year we didn't have the Career Expo at all, thank you, COVID. We did a virtual one, which was nice, but we've had about 600 to 700 high school students from across Jefferson County there every year. Fox in the past has sent no students or maybe one busload of students. Well, we really appreciated this year that the Fox administration believed in what we were doing and sent 400 freshmen and sophomores to Jefferson College. So we had over 900 there that day. And we had representatives from about 40 to 50 different career fields. So we think that is really important. The younger a student is exposed to different opportunities, the better off they are in planning their coursework while still in high school, as well as where they should be looking at for college, depending on those career fields. So we continue to have and grow this partnership. Dr. Frigo is actually going to be coming to our campus hopefully next month to see, and I can even say taste, because our culinary arts students are going to make our lunch. So some of your students are going to be preparing the lunch that day, but then to see what we do in action. And some of the other opportunities that we have already started exploring and talking about, the CAP program right now is specifically for an Associate of Arts degree. We don't have it in place yet. We have talked about an Associate of Arts as well as an Associate of Science degree, so that they can take the different pathways than just their general education. And we've also talked about partnerships where what we're trying to do, and we piloted this last year with another school and it went very well, but if a student gets to the junior year, takes their ACT, and may not be college ready, sometimes there's challenges there to get them college ready in 1 year. And we have learned and have worked really hard to put together programs where we work with those high schools, and it might be a reading program so that the student is college ready at that level by the time they graduate high school. And we're also looking to do that with math. Because the worst thing and one of the biggest challenges for a student who graduates high school is then to get to college and realize they might have to take a course that is what we call a co-requisite. So they might be taking their college level course along with a supplemental course that's not worth any credit to make sure that they can pass those classes. So these programs we're starting to implement in the high schools are very important to those students who have aspirations and might be on that borderline, because we just want them to come into college feeling supported and know they can do college level work. So we're working really hard on those things. So I just wanted to again thank Fox for their ongoing partnership. And as an aside, I started with Jefferson College in 2007 when the Arnold campus opened behind the Arnold Rec Center. I was the director. And so at that time I didn't live in Arnold, but I quickly became familiar with the community of Arnold and how everything here is interrelated. And I don't mean that everyone's related to each other, but how if you are, you see some of Fox's faculty who would adjunct for us in the evening. I'm a member and have been a member since 2007 in the Arnold Rotary Club. Judy is a member of the Arnold Rotary Club, which is great. And I got to know the community. I know the mayor, I know the chief of police through that organization. And I just think it is wonderful. And now I live in Arnold and live in the Fox district. And it is just always a breath of fresh air to see that commitment throughout the entire community in support of Arnold. Fox is one of the big players in the high schools in Jefferson County, but it has been a longstanding tradition, if you want to call it that, where they support the whole county in different initiatives to help everyone, raise everyone up, just not Fox students. So thank you very much for allowing me to come in and speak for just a couple minutes tonight. I'd also, if you'll have me back in the spring, I'd like to come in with actually some data on your Fox students who have come to Jefferson College either through the ATS or have taken dual credit or even graduated with us, and just share some of that data. So I'll be getting back in touch with you, Dr. Frigo, and we'll hope to bring that back later this spring. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate all the partnerships we have.
Thank you. Before we move on to patrons' comments, I just want to remind everybody that their masks need to be over their nose and their mouth. We've got about 6 people that are out of compliance here, and so I need those people to please put their mask on the way they should be on, or I will ask you to leave, because we do need to follow the process we put in place. And so we are to patron comments. Dr. Gilman.
Yes, we have several comments this evening. I'd like to remind our speakers that only items from the posted agenda may be discussed. A maximum of 30 minutes at the beginning of each meeting will be allocated for public comments. A 3-minute time period be allowed per speaker. A warning will be given after 2.5 minutes. The vice president of the board will be the timekeeper. And our first speaker this evening will be Brittany Hukin.
I first want to bring something to everyone's attention. This here is not a COVID scale from the Jefferson County Health Department, because justifying mask wearing based upon the health department's numbers is foolish, ignorant, and irrelevant. It doesn't make a lick of sense, being it's based upon 218,000 residents from the entire Jefferson County population, and last I checked, all 218,000 residents are not in our Fox C-6 buildings day in and day out. So here are numbers you can easily understand that actually impact our students and staff and are relevant. These numbers should be the only thing considered when making child abuse decisions for our entire district. I called each individual school in our district and got the total number of students and staff from all 18 schools. In total, there are 12,649 staff and students. There are 13 positive COVID cases. We are very, very, very easily in the green. 0.1% have COVID. That's essentially zero. In fact, according to the CDC, children have a 99.99% survival rate, essentially 100%. The first time I spoke, it appeared some fellow district parents weren't exactly following or don't understand math. Regardless, these low numbers are not because of mask wearing. These low numbers are because the pandemic is over, we are no longer in a state of emergency, and because COVID doesn't target children. I'd go into the fact that mask packaging directly states that masks do not protect against viruses, or the fact that COVID spread through aerosols, which are plenty small enough to easily and rapidly move through a mask out into the air. But science is hard for some people, and I don't want to confuse anyone. Continuing to mask our children lacks science, evidence, common sense, and basic human decency. Pathogens with an animal reservoir cannot be eradicated. COVID's not going anywhere. Are you planning on masking our children for the rest of their lives? Do you realize what you're doing to our children? You have our younger children thinking if they remove their mask at school that they will get sick and die. My first grade daughter cried when she got home because y'all have these poor kids brainwashed to the point of thinking breathing fresh air at school is going to kill them. I took my daughter to the book fair at Seckman Elementary 2 weeks ago. Upon entering the library, I was the only one not wearing a mask. But when I left, 50% of the people in there had taken their masks off as well. Complying is not going to get us anywhere. We all have to work together and keep fighting for our kids so that they can have their freedom back. Quit complying, all of us here and all of you at home. We are Americans, home of the free because of the brave. We have to be brave.
Rick Lamborn.
I think I can hold this down for here. Can I? Can take it off the speaker. Just, what's that? Okay, thank you. Thank you, and thank you for sharing the letter, and thank you for not considering us terrorists. We do appreciate that. This whole COVID thing seems to be a pandemic of fear and confusion and a few other things that I won't mention. But kind of to piggyback on what Brittany was talking about, I had a great chat with Jefferson County Health Board of Health, and it was very eye-opening. One thing I learned is that there have not been any juvenile deaths, and that juvenile, they define a juvenile from 0 to 8 to 19, from COVID in the county since they started accumulating numbers back in March of 2020. And in the state of Missouri, there's only been 6 juvenile deaths and in the 1 year and 8 months since they've been tracking those numbers. And I asked if whether there's any other medical issues with those 6 tragic deaths, and they did not know. So we'll come back to that number in a little bit. Total cases since March of 2020 is 32,083, divided by the population, which I got a little bit higher than hers, of 225,081, equals 14.2% of the population. By age, 0 to 9 is only, I won't go through the numbers, I have a little more time, is 4.9%. By age 10 to 19 is 12.6%. So if you get COVID, the 320 deaths divided by the people that get COVID is 1%. And most of those have other issues. That's if you get COVID, and there's very low likelihood you're going to get COVID, but if you get it, there's only a 1% chance you will die from it. And most of those cases have had other health-related issues that made that happen. The number that she was talking about that they seem to go by is a testing positive number that, when you're testing people go to get tests based on I have symptoms, or I've been around somebody that has symptoms, I want to verify for myself. So of course that number is going to come up higher. The true numbers are what we're talking about right here based on the entire population of either the school or the county at large. Here's what does kill children. Causes of death for children under 18 in 2019, car crashes, 78. Are we going to ban cars? I doubt it. Suicides, 39. Tragic. Very tragic. Influenza, 5 for just 2019. So if you do 5 for 1 year or 6 for 1 year and 8 months, influenza is more deadly than COVID. What did we do about influenza? Absolutely nothing, which is what I would advise us to start doing here. I asked the health department for stats for the flu in general for 2018 and 2019, and they told me they would get them to me. To date, nothing. Maybe they forgot, or maybe it doesn't support the narrative that they're trying to promote. You can be the judge of that. I already have. Last Thursday, when I went to Hillsborough to serve on the Board of Zoning Adjustment, there was no mention of masks on the door. I saw no one wearing a mask. The county government is not even taking the advice of their own health department. What does that tell you? And to my knowledge, this is the only place I've been to in the county. I get 30 minutes, right? 30. Yeah.
What is it? 3 minutes.
I didn't get a warning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
No
ahead then.
Okay, I get some time
I'm
back on the
sorry.
clock, right?
I've been watching it, so I'm sorry.
What is harmful is the harmful effects of rebreathing carbon dioxide. When CO2 levels are elevated in the body, is known as hypercapnia. The symptoms of that can lead to increased blood pressure, headaches, muscle twitches, rapid heart rate, chest pain, confusion, and fatigue. And anyone with any study that I read for like healthcare workers who are forced to wear a mask for long periods of time, like we force our students to,
30 seconds.
Further study, it needs to be resolved. Is that it?
30 seconds. Go ahead.
What's that?
I said go ahead, 30
Go ahead.
seconds.
Okay. Other symptoms are impaired. For this is low quality symptoms, and I wanted to actually have a demonstration of what you've probably seen them, where a fireman will take a air quality detector, stick it under his mask, and it immediately goes off saying it's dangerous. Get out of the room. So, thank you very much.
Jim Osha.
Good evening. First, I want to congratulate the Jaguar football team on their win on Friday night. Go Jags. To the kids that are on the Warriors, Fox Warriors team, hold your heads up. You play a great game. It was only 20-13, so don't walk away too upset. Now, what I'm up here for. Recently, a sunshine request was made regarding email communication. Involving board members and district communications. One email in particular has dismayed, concerned, and upset me. Now, before I read the email, I won't say to who it was sent or who it is about, as at this time, these individuals are not where my point is directed towards, and also respecting the policy for speaking about staff and parents. Here's the email. Can you call me? I would like this to stay private, as I don't think I am supposed to be emailing administration about emails we are getting from parents. They just won't quit. This has a lot of wrong going on in it. Misuse of board members' position, which could lead or be considered bullying. Sunshine law violation, and by taking this discussion from being recorded, we don't know what was discussed in a possible phone call, or what action request was asked or taken since said request, or what was taken since the request was asked. It does appear that the emails did stop, so who knows what was said from either the board member and or the administrator. Since ironically, this parent and board member actually have similar stances regarding masks and mandates. That's why I find it ironic. Since this board preaches transparency, honesty, and open conversations, I am going to ask that this board member resign their seat tonight, because we cannot have what we had in years past of board members, administrators abusing their position. So with that said, and this is not a personal thing, this is based upon what this board preaches, this is based upon what you've told the community you want. But I turn to this
30
board.
seconds.
I turn to this board member, Michelle Chamberlain. I ask that you resign your position tonight, citing the sunshine violation and violating the community trust. And if you want to read the, email, I have it right here.
Can I respond to that? Mr. Osha, I have children in the district, and I talk to all different people. And I don't know exactly what email you're talking about, but I'm sure that my intention of that email was only to be helpful, absolutely helpful to whatever situation I was addressing.
But you're a board member.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
Okay,
We're
no,
gonna-
but seriously, okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
there is no way I will resign my seat on this board.
okay. Okay. Okay, next,
Dan McCarthy.
All right, so I went to the Fox website for the listed COVID mitigation plan, and on it, it states, Fox C-6 created student, parent, and staff focus groups to solicit feedback, and in this plan and present regular updates to the Board of Education on status. So I'd like to know who is on this focus group, how do you get on this focus group, and when was the last update, and why do we not hear about these updates to the board? On that same mitigation page, Fox C-6 is working to ensure that all facilities have appropriate ventilation airflow. So I kind of went through the data and looked at it. If we cared about these children's safety, we have done much more to provide quality air filtration system. I don't see HEPA air filtration mentioned at all, and then 17% have access to fresh air via window. I mean, via window? Seriously? I mean, that's ridiculous. And then shouldn't this have been the first place COVID money was spent? What are you going to do to ensure quality air and provide a timetable for accountability? My daughter came home from school last month and told me she sneezed in her mask and it was full of snot and wore it all day. I said, "Didn't you ask for a mask?" And she said no, because she doesn't feel comfortable to ask for one. And this clearly tells me that they're not accessible and that staff needs training on, telling kids where they can get their masks from, if they get dirty, if they need to be changed out. You claim masks are for safety, but you only follow about half of the CDC guidelines on their website for masks. And how is it following half going to help keep these children safe? It's almost cynical to think that the problem created by government can be fixed by government. We've all heard the phrase, "Don't let a good crisis go to waste." Well, it amazes me how much fear causes people to grasp to the government, and give their freedoms away for safety, a false sense of safety. I see no leadership on this board besides one person, and one isn't enough to stop this madness. Your COVID mitigation is an attack on our God-given rights in order for you to push a socialist agenda. Give it time. Once the kids get their COVID shot, they won't have to wear them, but the ones who don't get the COVID shot will. Then it will be said that boosters will be needed because the unvaccinated are spreading it to the vaccinated. And this has already been said with adults, and the policies will only get more decisive.
30 seconds.
When are you going to open your eyes and see that this will never end unless people like you in leadership stand against this tyranny? I don't believe you mean to be bad people, but I do believe you're carrying out Satan's work. Yes, I said that, and I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of death, nor should anyone who believes in God and Jesus Christ as their Savior.
Travis Littner.
I only dress this way to confuse the feds when they come after us. Appreciate you acknowledging that. To get out of this vortex we're stuck in, I think there's something worth trying that we haven't yet. We could stop caving to fear. The comments I hear some of you put out there is driven by fear, and sometimes even stoking more of it. To accuse anyone of not caring about people getting sick or dying is a heartless accusation in and of itself. None of us wants that. The debate is divisive by design, so just be aware of that before jumping to judgment of others. Life is full of risk versus reward calculations, most of which we make without even a second thought. For example, parachuting from a plane versus getting behind the wheel of a car. On the surface, one presents a substantial amount of perceived risk, while the other is done every day without batting an eye. Statistically, you know which one actually puts you in more danger? Getting behind the wheel of a car. One of our neighboring districts just experienced that tragedy. Perception is everything. It has been said that the masks themselves cause no mental health issue. I think that's debatable. You are conditioning a new generation of children to wear a mask and hide away from any perceived threat. For some of us, the only school culture that our children have been exposed to has been shrouded in fear and threats. While outside of school, they lead their best life, and then they come into school to be scolded 8 hours a day to pull their mask up. Or they may be told by their teacher that they are the reason that the other children are sick because they're not wearing their mask properly. When are you and your staff going to recognize the complaints of the students that they are having trouble and stop rolling your eyes at them? Some of you think that this won't have long-term mental health effects or social ramifications. Are you kidding me? It shows just how narrow your scope of consideration is. Plenty is discussed about students, but what about your staff? I've had the privilege to speak with a few of your staff members recently, and it quickly became apparent of just how terrified they are to speak up for fear of losing their jobs. Is that the kind of culture you wish to promote? Doesn't sound like inclusion to me. Their inability to take a stand on their beliefs or come to some sort of working agreement was disappointing to say the least, but I get it. I'm guessing that previous experiences have led them to the feeling as though their opinion is not welcome. Some of those conversations literally broke my heart hearing the distress in their voice. What about their mental health, trying to enforce a policy in which they have no good mechanisms to do so? What about their mental health, knowing that morally they disagree with your policy, but their jobs are being dangled over their
30
heads?
seconds.
They hate the divisive situation you put them into. The voices remain silent, but they have been conditioned, much like you're conditioning our kids. There was no need for all this turmoil. All of this could have been avoided, and you could have had the power to fix it. You can fix it tonight. We will see if you have the courage to rectify the damage you've done to this community, your staff, and your students. I assure you that we will have the courage to keep fighting for them, and we're not going anywhere. Thank you.
Melissa Littner.
On June 15th, Governor Mike Parsons released a public statement regarding House Bill 271 and broke it down into layman's terms. Quote, political subdivisions may only issue public health orders that directly or indirectly restrict access to businesses, churches, schools, or other places of assembly for 30 calendar days in a 180-day period when the governor has declared a state of emergency. If a state of emergency has not been issued by the governor, political subdivisions may only issue orders that limit access to businesses, churches, schools, or other places of assembly for 21 calendar days in a 180-day period, end quote. On August 27th, Executive Order 2109 was signed by Governor Parsons. In that order, the state of emergency was stripped down to only include health care facilities. Fox C-6 is not a healthcare entity. The way I interpret that executive order coupled with House Bill 271, mitigation measures should have been voted on every 21 days. The last time it was on the agenda was September 21st, which was 29 days ago. Arguably, the mandate expired on October 13th. I bring this up for the purpose of mental health, okay? On October 14th, a student attempted to attend school without a mask on their own accord. Their reasoning was that they also believed the mandate is expired. When a kid wants something bad enough, we all know they're going to do what they can to get what they want. Before that student stepped foot into the building, they were being told to put on a mask. The student cordially declined, and several phone calls followed that the student was being sent home for not wearing a mask. After conversations between several staff members, an option was presented to allow the student to stay in school. However, that student would need to be isolated from everyone else. The same isolation that some of you sat up here and made comments about it negatively impacting mental health. The mental distress expands to the staff. You've put them between a rock and a hard place trying to follow an order that majority of you implemented without any further guidance. After speaking with several staff members, I can tell you they feel punishment for not wearing a mask is inappropriate, and they don't feel justified punishing students over it. They are far more interested in focusing their efforts on instruction and education, not policing who has their face covered for the day. I'm immensely
30
appalled
seconds.
that this board wouldn't even entertain the idea of sending out a survey to get a feel on how the district's staff, parents, and constituents felt prior to a decision being made. If I remember correctly, this is some of the same behavior that drove a wedge between the board and community years ago. Stop allowing history to repeat itself. At the very least, take the step to bridge the gap between communication.
Our final comment this evening, Stacey Risky.
Good evening. My name is Stacey, and I'm a parent of a senior here at the high school, and my son will be in kindergarten next year. Thank you for being here, giving your time, and listening. I've always been fond of quotes. I think that, quotes can move minds, engage mountains, and make you think, and the best thing for our situation right now is this quote. It is easier to fool a man than to convince him he has been fooled. Missouri's own Mark Twain. We've all been fooled, folks. Think about it. We were all scared when this first began. We didn't know what to do. We all worked together to find out what was best for our family and our community. It was new. We didn't have enough information. All we could do was make decisions based on the information that we were given. That's the key word, given. So let me ask you this. Have we ever lived in a time where the people that were censoring others were the good guys? Have we? That's why we're divided. That's on purpose. You have your stats, somebody else has their stats, but nobody knows the truth. Look at what's really going on with our children. Look at what's really going on in the news. It's not news, it's propaganda. If this were a real pandemic, it wouldn't need 24/7 advertising or marketing or campaigns, but psychological operations do. Think about that. We should all be fortunate that we live in this great state of Missouri, the show me state, right? Show me, prove it to me. So show me where masks are not physically or mentally harming our children. Show me how taking away their voice and smiles every day is beneficial. Show me how making children wear masks makes them love being at school. Show me that. Can you? No, you can't. Time is quick for us as adults. We go through routines, everything's the same. But what about kids? Everything's new. Time drags on. 8 hours wearing a mask in school is an eternity for them. And that's what you're doing to our children. The answer is simple. Stop listening to the CDC. Stop listening to the health department. They don't make laws. There is no law in Missouri for masks. Look at other schools around. If you really want to wear a mask, wear it. If not, don't force our children to wear it. This needs to stop. Abraham Lincoln once said, you can fool all the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. If we find out that the reason you changed your mind the last minute this year is because you received money to mask our children, I promise you, when re-election comes up, you won't be re-elected.
Thank you. Moving on, 3.3, superintendent comments.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. I'd like to talk about a few things going on in the district. So if you go to the first slide there, sir. Right, everybody should know this week is School Bus Safety Week. I wanted to bring this to people's attention to give some kudos and great thanks to our bus drivers who are out there every day transporting our kids safely to and from school. And I just want to thank them for what they do on a daily basis to make sure your kids are safe, and I think they deserve a round of applause. Also in October, it's National School Principals Month. And again, this group of leaders on a daily basis are trying to do great things for kids and the staff that they serve. And they have done great work to give kids a great learning experience in each of our buildings. And the hours they put in are unbelievable. And I can't thank them enough for the leadership they show to make Fox C-6 a great place to be for our staff and our kids. And again, I think our principals deserve a round of applause as well. All right. There's been some conversation tonight, and we've heard from some of our patrons about House Bill 271. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. We've heard from quite a few people about House Bill 271 and some of the confusion around the voting parameters included in the new statute. That statute has different voting timelines for different types of public health orders. Orders issued outside a declared state of emergency that close businesses, churches, schools, and other locations are required to be approved and extended by a governing body within a 21-day time frame. Orders issued during a declared state of emergency that close or restrict access to businesses, churches, schools, and other locations are required to be approved and extended by a governing body within a 30-day time frame. There's pending litigation at the state level and other levels that will determine the application of this new statute to school districts and masking requirements. Until that issue is resolved, the Fox School District intends for the Board of Education to vote on the current masking requirement every 30 days. All right, so thank you on that. And last but not least, we talked about some district data earlier in public comment. Our current status as of this morning, we have 14 positive cases in the district. We have 56 people excluded, and currently we have 22 kids in school on modified quarantine, and I'd like to thank this board for approving the modified quarantine guidelines last time so those 22 kids could be in school. So wanted to present some local data at this board meeting. So thank you, and that's the end of my report.
Okay, 4.1 COVID Mitigation Plan, consideration of current COVID Mitigation Plan.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about this a little bit. This document was reviewed by DESE, and DESE has recommended a couple of adjustments to the plan to make sure our people are understanding that they can get referred for diagnostic testing and screening. So that wording was added to the written plan. We also, under symptom monitoring and hygiene practices, we've added the word about enhanced opportunities for students and staff to use hand washing and sanitizing stations. This slightly changes our language from sanitizer and other supplies will be available to students and staff members. And then training on enhanced cleaning will be provided to staff and teachers' assistants. This reflects training received by the staff in some special service classrooms related to cleaning and disinfecting when working with students with certain disabilities. So the plan has been adjusted based on DESE's suggestions for that wording, and we're recommending you approve the plan with that adjusted wording.
So I would like to move, or can I make the motion? Can I move that the Board of Education adopt the updated COVID mitigation measures for the 21-22 school year as proposed by the district administration and to be implemented by the district's administration?
I second that motion.
Any questions? Any comments?
It will be continued to be reviewed again in 30 days. Is that
the plan would continue like we had in the past. I just wanted to make that clear that it will be reviewed again in 30 days, right?
Yes,
Thank
30
you.
calendar days.
Is anyone interested in discussing making the high schools optional, since there are 6 total cases in all of the high schools put together, and they have the opportunity to be vaccinated? A lot of them have already had COVID, and they can wear a mask. So is anyone interested in discussing that? Is anyone interested in having a survey sent out to see who has been vaccinated, has had COVID at the high school level only? That way, if we gather information, we can see what we're actually dealing with to see if we have herd immunity there. We don't know because we have not asked. We don't have to ask for names. It can be confidential. I'm just asking for information.
One of the
April,
things,
with all respect, I think that's really an administrative decision about whether or not they want to send out surveys. I don't know if the board needs to make that decision.
one of the things that people have commented about is surveys last year. Surveys last year were for the purpose of deciding how many staff we needed for virtual, how many staff we needed for in-person. Those were the only reasons surveys were sent out last year, to establish what was needed within the education system. Just taking a survey to find out who believes what, you have elected these people to make your decisions, and they are making them to the best of their ability. I do not like masks. I do not want people to have to wear masks, but they're making their decisions on how they feel. And so, just like you've said, you can vote at the election. But as of right now, when we take a vote, that is what we have to abide by. Each one of us took an oath to do that. And so it doesn't matter taking a survey, because the surveys we've taken in the past were for educational purposes. It was for finding out how many teachers we needed at each tier of education. So if the administration decides they want to do that, then they can do that. As Vicki said, that's really not our position to do that. If they want to do that, they can do that. It doesn't matter because... They blame it on you and you blame it on them. Okay, thank you. So we're going to go on.
Can I actually respond to April's comment about...
Okay.
April, I understand your thought process behind the identifying how many of our kids have herd immunity and stuff like that. However, I think that would be very difficult to, for just legality reasons, to have that question out there.
School districts are doing it all over the place, Michelle.
They are.
Lutheran South knows how many of their students.
That's a private school.
I understand
and
that.
This is a HEPA. A HEPA.
But I said you do not have to ask names.
Then how can we be
Okay,
sure
ladies and gentlemen, this is a board discussion, not an audience discussion. We have really listened to your emails. Everybody has read them. So we've listened to your speech. They need a chance to discuss. So I'm going to ask you to please be quiet while they do this.
And then April, with going high school with mask optional, we are in the orange. We just got to the orange level today, right? In Jefferson County, red, orange. Or can you explain that, Dr. Frigo?
One area, the positivity rate is orange. The case rate for 100,000 is still red. So one's red, one's orange.
Okay. So our mitigation plan is whenever we get to the yellow. So we're going in the right direction. And I, as a current teacher in the classrooms, I see how masks can and cannot, or can spread it. So I'm in a building where there's a choice. And guess what? Kids are getting COVID because they're not masked. And our numbers are down. Excuse me.
Please stop.
Our kids are not, our numbers are down, I promise you, because we are wearing masks. And we just need to continue.
We started this out to flatten the curve. The curve is flat. We've got to move on. My kids, my little child comes home and wears his mask still after school because he's being conditioned and he thinks it's normal. We cannot we have to take at least a baby step forward.
And we'll do that when we get back in the yellow.
Okay.
And one of the things I think, April, that's a little bit...
I can't hear you, Vicki. I'm so sorry.
One of the things that I think is a little bit difficult with sending a survey asking about vaccination status to students and staff that you mentioned is that, again, people can identify based on the responses who sent it possibly, and that could really be considered intrusive. So it's just a very difficult thing to do as well. But it really is not something that typically a board would vote on.
Well, if we do things the way we've always done, then we're just going to stay where we are.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion or not?
Everyone talks about
it's going to
boards
fail.
being governance and not being day-to-day operations. That's really the administration's decision about.
So
those
you
kind of
can
things.
govern better if you gather information.
Okay. Is somebody making a motion?
There's already a motion on the floor.
All right. All right. All in favor?
Yes.
Those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries to continue with the COVID mitigation plan. 4.2, grant approval, Merrimack Heights Elementary Music Department. Dr. Gilman.
Yes, we got Kathy Han is the amazing music teacher over at Merrimack. She's actually here tonight. If you want to wave, Kathy, thanks for being here. She continues to work tirelessly to improve the music program there at Merrimack, and she has acquired 3 grants here that I'm asking for approval. The grants will be used to purchase a xylophone and other percussion instruments, as well as to repair and replace broken instruments. So I'm asking for approval of the Student Success Grant for $5,000, the Arts and Education Fund for Teachers, also $5,000, and the Music and Arts Grant for $250.
Okay. Someone want to make that motion?
So moved, Hanson.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Anyone opposed? Okay. Pardon me? Okay.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
We appreciate all your hard work, and we're thankful for those grants for you. Thank you very much. 4.3, donations, Simpson Elementary. Dr. Gilman.
Yes, Joshua and Megan Carnegie donated $100 to Simpson Elementary. We thank them for their generosity, and we're asking for approval of this donation.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the donation as presented.
Motion to approve. Second, Meckel.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. 4.4, Perkins Consortium Agreement with Jefferson College Area Technical School. Dr. Cardona.
Yeah, so this is a perfect night to bring this. So I am asking for the board to approve the 21-22 Perkins Consortium Agreement with Jefferson College Area Technical School. As many of you know, college and career readiness is a huge part of it. And, you know, a lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on the college part, but we also need to pay attention to the career part. So with this, all of this allocation for these funds will go toward paying for the tuitions. And currently we have 95 students enrolled for the fall semester. So I'm just asking for the board to approve that for our students.
Great. We need a motion then to approve the 2021-22 Perkins Consortium Agreement with Jefferson College Area Technical School.
Motion, Chamberlain.
Second, Smith. All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed?
I have to abstain.
Okay. And we're to 5.1, financial report. Ms. Trogi.
Yes, you have the financial report there on the screen and in front of you, and this is for the first 3 months of the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2021, and our operating fund balance at that time was almost $21 million. Questions?
Very good. Thank you. 6.1, payment of bills, Group A.
You have the Group A bills there in front of you presented for your review and approval.
Okay, we need a motion to approve Group A bills as presented.
Motion
to
Hanson.
approve, Yount.
Second, Hanson.
Anyone have any questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. 6.2, budget adjustments. Ms. Trogi.
Yes, this is our first budget adjustment for this fiscal year, and you have a summary sheet and a detailed sheet of all of the adjustments that will be made. With this adjustment, the projected year-end operating fund balance has increased to 14.23% from the original budgeted percentage of 13.1.
Very good. That's good news. So we need a motion to approve the adjustments to the 2021-22 budget as presented.
I make a motion.
Second, Chamberlain.
Any questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. 6.3, bid award, vehicle purchases. Ms. Trogi.
Yes, the district went out for a bid for 2 one-ton maintenance trucks and a transit van. And in front of you, you have the motion to award this bid to the winning bidder, which was Broadway Ford Truck Sales for $135,208.
We need a motion to approve the bid for the purchase of 2 F-450 trucks with dump beds and snow plows and 1 transit van, including trade-in value of 2 vehicles to the Broadway Ford Truck Sales for $135,208. Do we have a motion?
Motion, Meckel.
Second, Yount.
Anybody have any questions? And this is part of the budgeted.
Yes, it's already budgeted.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, we are to 7.1, policies. This is the first reading and adoption of AA, School District Legal Status, ADF District Wellness Program, IGBCA, Programs for Homeless Students, IGBE, Students in Foster Care. Dr. Brock.
We are requesting that the board accept all of the attached policies for a first reading and adoption. Each of these policies is only changing the name or the title of something. There's not a change to any practices or anything like that.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the attached policies for first reading and adoption.
Motion, Chamberlain.
Second, Hargis.
Any questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, 7.2, policies. First reading, GCBDA, professional staff short-term leaves, GDBDA, support staff leaves, HA, negotiations with employee representatives. Dr. Brock.
We're requesting that the board accept these 3 policies for a first reading. They would come before the board for a second reading and adoption at the November 2nd meeting.
Okay, we need a motion to accept all attached policies for a first reading.
Could I have a comment or
Madam
question first?
President?
Make the motion in second and we'll ask questions.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that GCBDA and GDBDA be postponed until a later date. Because of some of the wording in here, it affects our budgeting and our money that's going to have to be taken care of with this wording and these 2 different policies. And I would like to ask that those be held up until after the first of the year. I'm sorry.
Did you say that was a motion?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm
Thank
not
you.
sure if I said motion, but yes. I think I said suggest, but yes, I would like to make a motion that those 2 policies be postponed until after the January 1st.
Okay, so you don't want to discuss them, you don't want to make the adjustments before the second reading or for the second reading?
I would prefer that we wait until after the first of the year because it does affect finances with the district. And I'm not comfortable with that discussion right now.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. So then we need to Make a motion for HA negotiation with employee representatives.
For the first reading?
I second it. Chamberlain?
Any questions?
I had one question, and it was a small change. There's actually two places. I know in the past there was a wording that said that board members can attend the negotiation sessions but not participate. And I think, especially in view of the fact that in the body of the document, it also says that individual board members, which again obviously cannot negotiate privately with representatives of any bargaining unit, that language should still be included, so it's clear that it's okay for board members to attend as observers if it's necessary to say, as long as there's not a quorum of board members present. That could be added, but I think that should be considered so that everybody understands that that's a normal practice if a board member chooses to attend a negotiating session, and that it's not, I know in the past I've done that and you just don't participate at all, and if the administration and the bargaining unit caucus, you don't sit in with them. You sit in a separate place and just wait till they're done, and when they get back together, you observe again. So that's my one thought. And then in order to expedite the bargaining process, I think it might be advisable to have a time frame of when the membership count is going to be presented to the board. If there needs to be a caveat that says, if there's extenuating circumstances that it can't be done by a certain date, then that can be considered. But without that, it could delay the process, and you always want to have that done so you know where you are, in terms of finances and everything, and the process can get done in a timely manner. So that's just two things to consider.
Okay, so the wording can be adjusted and sent back out for feedback. Is that correct?
If that's what the board wishes.
So we're accepting are you accepting this as the first reading?
I'm accepting it. I mean, I second the motion as the first reading, but I just wanted to say that I think it's important to consider those 2 points. And
I want to make sure you're clear on what points you said.
Okay, the first point was
board member participate. I wrote it down.
They can
board
attend.
Can attend, but not participate.
Yes.
And the second was clarifying the date of membership certification.
Well, the date that the information about the membership count is brought to the board so that can be approved and negotiation, bargaining can begin, so the two teams can begin meeting.
Okay.
Because if there's not a deadline, I mean,
are you talking about just the membership count?
Yes.
Can I clarify something there? So the board doesn't vote on accepting the membership count.
But you bring that information.
It's information only. So even if there is a delay, for example, if the membership counts were due yesterday and the policy says November 1st, but if the membership counts were due yesterday and we had our board meeting today, that would not be enough time for administration to go through the lists and check employment statuses and positions and all of that, and work with the groups on any necessary edits. So that deadline was taken out after discussions with our attorney. So in saying that it is information only, as soon as the accounts and the reviews are complete, that information can be shared. It can be shared via email. It can be shared with both groups. There's no reason that things can't proceed until after a board meeting, because that information it's only information. It's not a vote.
I understand that, and I'm just sharing an opinion. It's something for the board to consider. I just think that my reasoning is that there may be some years, like when 1413 was in effect, and that changed the whole process. Things were in the process of determining the bargain unit was much more complicated. And so there were some delays there. But I think that the best practice would be to share the information public at a board meeting rather than through an email. That I think the public would be interested in knowing what association or group is going to be doing meet and confer with.
Right, and of course we would still do that. Of course we would still do that. My only point was that we wouldn't have to wait for that to occur, for the group to proceed.
So, okay, I understand what you're saying.
Kelly,
Okay.
how will they know when they need to turn their numbers in?
That's what I was just going to
That's-
ask.
The
that's
policy, the draft that is here does say November 1st.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
But I didn't see it in this one. It just says it doesn't have a date.
It says it
Oh,
says
they
November
turn it in.
1st, yeah, to be
Okay,
submitted
yeah.
to us, yes.
Yeah, but then.
That's,
And-
okay,
And
that's,
my,
that's what I
again,
thought.
I was thinking about the part where whatever group meets with the administrative team and goes through that process, they're gonna gather information from all the staff, and so they need time to do that. And until they know that they're the unit, they can't begin that process. And for the finances, that affects everything until that process is completed, So that was my process. Just something for the board to consider,
Okay.
I'm not, everybody has to think about it, and then you can send things, and we can consider it at the next meeting.
How does the rest of the board feel about notating in the policy board member attendance is allowed without participation, to make sure that's delineated?
I think that we've done that for several years, and I don't understand why we wouldn't continue to do it. I think it's important that the board is there listening to what's going on, and they can always share that information with the other board members. So
And
it's
I don't-
an important
I don't
part of
think
the
the
process.
I don't think the question is whether or not board members can attend. Board members, it's assumed that board members can attend. It's just making it explicit or not. So I don't think anybody, I just wanted to clarify for Crystal, I don't think anybody was trying to prevent board members from attending.
That's why I was saying, do we want it delineated explicitly in the policy?
I think it should be.
Okay.
It
Anybody
doesn't
else?
matter to me.
Okay. Well, Kelly, will you make that change?
Yes.
And then bring it back for the second reading? Are there any other, sorry, Judy, that's your.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Any other adjustments? Any other adjustments people believe needs to be made to this policy or considered?
All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept the first reading. We'll make those adjustments, and they'll be sent back out. And if there are any comments, you can make them back to Kelly. And so we need a vote. All in favor of the first reading?
Yes.
Anybody opposed? All right, that carries. 8.1 consent agenda, items 8.2 through 8.7. We need a motion to approve all consent agenda items 8.2 through 8.7 as presented.
I make a motion, Hargis.
Second, Yount.
Any questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Hanson.
Chamberlain, second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone